to Europe?
Yeah. You're like,
Europe's pretty
well,
cool.
definitely don't want to give this shit to the U.S. government, so I guess I better just plan another trip to
Well,
Europe.
well, now I'm at the point where I'm thinking I should spend my euros before the whole fucking eurozone collapses. So I thought I was being smart, but maybe I was being stupid. Because that seems like that might actually happen. I don't know. Okay. Welcome to the Practical Pistol Show, guys. My name's Ben, here to answer your shooting questions. We got Tim Herron.
Hey guys, what's going on?
I don't dry fire. Angry Matt.
Hi.
Hi. I do dry fire enough for everyone else on the panel. Kwanzaa Kim.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, you're going to be our first like West Coast regular. It occurs to me.
I'm almost at the border of Canada, so
That's still the West Coast.
You're on the
Yeah.
West Coast. You live closer to Canada than I do. I think.
15 minutes. to the
Yeah, you
border.
live way closer to Canada. It's like 8 hours by car for me to get to the Canadian border, I think.
Yeah, when I got out of the boat, it was just on the West Coast, so I just stuck here all my life.
Canada's really cool with immigrants. Like, I think foreigners are allowed to buy property there.
I think so.
And that's why a lot of Chinese, like rich Chinese people buy property in Canada or something.
Yeah, I took a wrong boat.
You took a boat?
Wrong boat.
Jesus Christ. Oh, man. I love it. I love it when you play the racial stereotype. Honestly, I love that. Tim does it too. What?
How do I play the racial stereotype?
I don't know. You have a job. See what I did there? Anyway,
Yeah.
let's get to the questions. Hey, Ben. Do groupings within the A zone matter? For example, if you're able to hit all A's on 7-yard bill drill under the par time, but your A's were all over the place, does that matter? Was training with a local GM and we were shooting bill drills. I hit all A's and he said, yeah, but your group sucks. Thoughts? Man, I like that GM. Guy just accomplishes his goal. He's like, yeah, fuck you. It's not good enough. They're not alpha enough. Matt, what do you think? Does it matter?
I don't. If you do like 300 rounds, you'll be able to tell where your group is. If it's all over the target, that's probably not the best. I'm not sure if it matters though.
Okay, how about this scenario? Let's say all the hits are on the left side of the A zone.
Adjust your sights.
At 7 yards. I think my gun's hitting left.
You're probably pulling it.
So it would matter in that case, even if they're all A's.
Yeah, if you can definitely tell like a trend,
Okay.
it's something to look for. Doing one bill drill and like, what's that going to tell you?
It tells him that he made his goal and that he has a shitty friend.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't
That's on
practice
him.
with GMs, obviously,
obviously.
because they're not going to be fun. He's probably like, yes, bitches. And then GM's like, whatever, suck it. All right. Juan's like, what do you think?
Yeah, well, 7-yard grouping is most important thing when you go to indoor range, but because everybody's shooting at 7 yards and everybody wants, like, just small dot. But if you're shooting USPSA, the score is the same, so it doesn't matter. I think it only matters when you want to check your ammo or accuracy, your zero on your gun. But in a match, it doesn't really matter, I think.
Okay. Tim, what do you think?
Doing a 7-yard bill drill, it's not going to be. I mean, obviously the goal is all A's. So if you got all A's, then yeah, you're attaining your goal. I think a bill drill is more about learning the timing of the gun, and obviously a 7-yard build drill, maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I kind of look over or look through the sights. I'm really not watching exactly what the front sight's doing when I'm trying to rip, 0.16 to 0.18 splits, and knock out a build drill in 1.8 or 1.9 seconds or whatever. So you don't really have time.
Just whatever. You're just so fast.
Oh yeah. You don't have time though to really diagnose like what it was when the sights, what the sights were doing when the next shot broke, and the thing is when you're shooting the gun based on just strictly on timing, then what changes the group size is of course your grip strength on the gun and whether or not you're pressing the trigger at 0.16 or you happen to press the trigger a little later at 0.19 or you're pressing the trigger a little earlier on the next one and it's at 0.15. That's going to make a difference in what that group size is if you're trying to look at it from a group standpoint at a 7-yard build drill. So,
Tim, imagine, if you will, that I'm the dumbest motherfucker you've ever talked to. Shouldn't be too hard. What are you trying to say here?
I'm trying to say you want to get that group size down a little bit more. You're gonna have to grip the piss out of the gun a little bit more with your support hand. And
so you'd be siding with the GM, because you're a GM. You'd be shitting all over this guy's face, wouldn't you?
No, not at all. If he's at all A's, he's accomplished what the goal of the drill was.
Yeah, but it could have been more.
But if the guy's like, man, I want to be able to shoot just like say the upper half or the lower half of the A zone, so instead of
I want to shoot like you, Tim.
Yeah, A zone's what, 10 inches long, 10 inches tall by 6 inches wide.
I think it's 11. Is it 10 and a half or 11 or something?
I think it's like 6 by 10 or maybe 6 by 11. So, if you're using the entire length of the A zone, then yeah, I'd say it's probably something that you can correct to shrink up that group to say half the size of that entire A zone by kind of shoring up your grip strength on the gun. So something's probably happening mid-string where you're either relaxing the hand or tightening the hand or something like that.
Okay.
Hands when you're trying to shoot really, really fast like that. And it's not uncommon.
Well, I'm going to disagree with all you guys right now. Seriously. Sort of. I think that USPSA scoring is one part of what we do, and that's a good thing, and you should be thinking about that. But the other thing is the way the hits go in the different scoring zones. So in this case, the guy hit all over the A zone. That is relevant information. That is important. I do not, in this instance, agree with the local GM that this is a problem, but I think it is something that you should pay attention to in your training. So I'll give you some examples here. So if you're doing a 7-yard build drill and all your hits are low in the A zone and you've got one low left in the C zone, right, that's going to tell you something that you're doing wrong. We're like pushing into the gun. All right, so it's like you've got your score, 5 A's and 1 C, but that doesn't tell you as much as looking at where the hits are located on the target and kind of figuring out what that pattern is. Also, if you do a build drill and you hit all A's spread all over the A zone, pretty evenly distributed, like there's not a bunch on the left or a bunch on the right or a bunch high, or maybe you'll see 5 in the same place and one shot like down low, something like that. That's a pretty common pattern if you have a guy with a double action gun or something like that where they push the first one down. But anyway, if they're evenly spread all over the A zone, that's why you look at that and I'd be like, I would say good. So the guy is shooting as fast as he can and the hits spread out sort of evenly around the A zone. I like that. If he shot a group the size of his silver dollar, I would be thinking maybe he can shoot faster. Right?
Right.
So in your training, I would separate the USPSA scoring from the actual hits and the layout of the hits on the target and what that's trying to tell you. I just think that I would probably think this local GM's a fucking idiot, having a problem. Like, we're not trying to shoot a bill drill at 7 yards into a tiny group. That's not what we're trying to do. If you want to do that, I would just move the target to 15 yards, and put them all in the A zone there, or something like that. So, but you should pay attention to where the hits are distributed around the target. And this is another reason why I like to do oftentimes multiple runs on the same target, or the same targets, to shoot the same order, do the same thing multiple times, and that gives you a better idea of the patterns that you're seeing. Whether hits are low or left, or you're dragging on the targets or pulling off or something like that. So pay attention to that stuff. I wouldn't just say, because I like the USPSA score I got, I did the drill right. I read into it a little bit more.
Right.
Any reaction, guys?
I really like it. I think it's a very good training mindset, and I think analyzing your pattern is pretty important to get your grit right and get your draw right.
Well, you didn't think it was important 5 minutes ago.
Now it is.
You said if you're a fag shooting at 7 yards in an indoor range. Anyway.
Now, indoor range, you gotta pin and reset, so it's gonna take more time.
And you can't shoot faster than 1 shot a second.
Yeah, indoor range is different.
All right. Let's go to the next question. Hi, Ben. Would you and the guys talk about over-aiming? I spent a lot of time learning to see the front sight, but I'm starting to think I'm looking at too much. How much should you divide your focus between sight picture and sight placement? When I get to a really hard shot, I'm looking at the sight so hard I cannot see the target clearly. Many times I end up with a nice pair of shots in the wrong place on the target, and it's slow. As a result, I've now started to divide my attention between seeing the spot on the target I want to hit and the sights. I'm seeing the sights enough to know they're aligned, but I'm trying to at least keep as much attention on the target itself. It seems to be working, and it's definitely faster, not refocusing 100% on the sights. But it goes against most of the advice I've read. Most of what I see in here says you focus on the sights as much as you can. What do you guys actually see when you're shooting? Do you devote all your attention to the sights, the target, or is it always a mixture of the two? Okay. Hopkins, Hoppy Cakes, you're up first. It's hoppycakes at czusa.com if you had a question for me.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's actually it. That's totally my email address.
Matt.
What do you want me to answer? Which question?
I don't know. What the fuck is this guy even talking about, man?
Well, he's got like 4 questions in there.
Yes, he does. Well, how about this? What's your reaction to what so you got a guy coming up to you. Let's say he's a real chatty Cathy, and he's like blah 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 blah, blowing you up, asking all this stuff. What do you want to tell this guy?
I mean, the smart-ass answer is like, see what you need to see, right?
Well, what is that? How is he supposed to know?
That's the mystery, isn't it?
I guess that's the mystery.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I guess I can answer what I'm seeing when I'm shooting. That'd be maybe the easiest for me to answer, I guess. I'll like drive my eyes and pick a spot on the target, and the gun just kind of comes into alignment there, and I basically, I guess, get in focus what I need to on the difficulty of the shot. Sometimes it's just looking at the target and pulling the trigger as soon as the slide, like, just the slide profile you see, and sometimes you got to be really hard on the front sight to make sure you're on it. There's some level, you have to see the back target to see it. Like, you have to see the target. It's not in focus, but you still see where it's at in reference.
So when this guy's talking about dividing his attention between this and that, what does that mean to you?
I don't know if I think of it like that as 2 separate things. It's kind of one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it just moves, like, the focus just shifts a little from the target to the sights or whatever you actually need for that shot.
Okay.
Well, you're still seeing both things. I don't think you're trying to think one and then the other because it doesn't really work like that.
Yes. Yeah. To me, the tricky verbiage here that he's is using. I mean, he's talking about where his attention goes and sight placement. And then he changes his focus and that kind of stuff. It's hard to figure out what exactly he means because we have kind of a terminology problem here. All right, Tim, what's your reaction to this? If this guy comes up to you at a match, he's blabbing at you. You probably tell him to get fucked, right?
No, not at all. So I know what the guy's talking about because I see a lot of shooters make the same mistake, and that's the same mantra is kind of beat into their heads constantly. Look at the front sight, look at the front sight, look at the front sight, and unfortunately, every time that they go to the range and shoot or in dry fire or whatever, their acute visual focus is solely on just the perfect sight picture and what it means to have the perfect sight picture. So and that tends to slow most guys down more than anything else. I mean, they have the most wicked fast, hand movement to the gun and getting the gun presented to the target, but then they'll spend, the next 2 seconds almost like completely refining the sight picture to a point where they're absolutely like, okay, that's the sight picture I want before they start shooting. And a lot of it just it has to do with them not spending the time to experiment with different levels of focus and different levels of sight picture, and basically just using just the relevant sight picture necessary to make the shot. So, they don't play around with things like, misaligned sights or sight deviation. They don't they don't play around with, like a hard, fast, a hard, steadfast sight picture or front sight focus at 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards versus, let's say, a 7-yard kind of just looking through the sights and having more of a target focus or kind of a neutral focus where you're just, everything just kind of just lines up, but you're really kind of looking at the sights more so through a peripheral focus versus a hard focus. So a lot of it has to do with just the level of attention that this guy's paying to just experimenting with, honestly, with kind of like what he can get away with and still call or still hit an adequate shot as needed at speed.
So you take him to mean when he's talking about where he's putting his attention, you take that to mean what he's looking at, what his focus is on. Like visual focus. Yeah. I do too.
Correct.
That's how I know. Like when you're talking to your daughter and she's not looking at you, you know she's not paying attention. Right? We pay attention to the things we look at. That's the way people are wired. Okay. Hwanzik, what would you say to this guy? Would you Google translate this shit to Korean or what?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
So, this guy experiencing the process Matt earlier talked about, like looking at the target and sight coming in and all that. So I started realizing a little bit more about the sight focus after I kind of messed around in carry optics division. So when I tried red dot, I was just only looking at the target.
Of course,
but when I went back to iron sights, I actually experienced my sight is most of the time is somewhere in the middle of the target and the sight. So some people say intermediate focus. And then I think this guy is basically
Well, what does that
about,
mean? Hold on. What does that mean, intermediate focus? So what are you looking at?
Yes. The target is blurry and the sight is also blurry.
Okay.
Neither of them are super sharp. So it's neither target focus, it's neither front sight, but it's somewhere in the middle. What appears
clear?
Nothing appears clear.
Not the background?
I would say the ground, background can be clear.
That's probably what your eyes are focused on. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when I change my focus to the front sight, it feels way slower than just looking at the target and looking at the outline of the gun and shooting. But I recently found something super interesting for me. I don't know if this guy wears glasses, but
you found out your feelings don't matter and that you may feel slow, but you're not?
No. So I have prescription glasses, and I
Really?
happen to.
You are
I happen
shattering
to.
stereotypes there, Wanzik.
Okay, you gotta listen. So my right dominant eye glasses is near side focus, so I can see close distance pretty well, and my non-dominant eye side is focused on the far distance. And then when I do target focus, the front sight is sharper. So I think if this guy wants to see the front sight sharper in any distance, I might recommend trying that.
I think this
And
motherfucker just wants to shoot alphas, man. Tell him how to do that thing.
And I have another advice too.
Okay.
He has really good index. So wherever he points the gun, it's aligned already, then he doesn't have to mess around his focus that much. And I think I have good index and 25-yard open target, no partial, then I wouldn't have any problem shooting alphas with blurry front sight, blurry rear sight.
Okay. So, Wanzik, I'm so glad you said that last thing. That makes me so happy. So, if we're giving this guy a prescription, you might be saying, hey, dipshit, dry fire more, develop the ability to look to a spot and then have the gun go and point at that spot, right? Right, because I agree. That to me is a lot of the problem here, especially when he's talking about he's kind of fighting to get the sights lined up, and sometimes it sounds like he looks at the wrong spot on the target, and then occasionally we'll get 2 hits in the same spot. That to me that's indicative of aiming in the wrong spot, obviously. Well, let me just lay out for him the normal sort of process that you'd go through if you're shooting. So you'd look to the target, and of course your eyes focus on the things you look at. So if I look at the target's going to appear clear. Then the gun comes over to the target, and I'll see the gun and the sights. They will be blurry. Right? If you train to the point where you have that good index, the sights will be in alignment. I can see the sights are lined up on the target, but they'll be blurry. So I can use the blurry bumps to aim and shoot as for most targets most of the time, no problem. That's going to be fine. If it's a hard enough target, or maybe it's a partial target, and I want to be sure of exactly sure of where I'm aimed, then I can have my eyes change focal depth, and the front sight then appears clear, and the target a little bit blurry, and I can have a better idea of exactly how the sights are aligned. Okay, that would be switching to a sight focus. Okay, it's a little bit slower, of course, because you have to change focal depth with your eye, but them's the breaks. So that's the normal process. It sounds to me like Juanzik's onto something talking about the guy's index and all of this vision stuff. Honestly, it's sounding like a lot of bullshit to me. Like in the guy's mind where it's like, hey, do I look at the sight or the target or this or that? It's like, no. Just dry fire to the point where your sights are in alignment and when you look at stuff, and it won't matter that much what you're focused on, because if they're lined up, they're lined up. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah.
All right. See, I'm so glad we have Juanzik here now. A real shooter, a real dry fire guy, a real trainer. Not like the lames, including me, that we have. All right. Guys, another bang-up show. I really think so.
Definitely.
Hopkins, say hi to Mimi.
Hi.
God. Man, I really wish I could have a cat. Seriously, I want a cat
Jealous?
really bad. I actually am jealous. Your cat's strange, but it's cool. All right. And I have a dog, but it's not cool like Tim's dog. Juanzik, do you have a dog?
My dog loves me.
Do you have
My
any
wife
pets?
is a cat lady. She's got 2 cats, but those cats are too fancy. They need stairs, and our apartment doesn't have stairs, so they're at my in-laws.
They're too
What?
fancy?
Yeah. They get depressed if there's no stairs.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
Cats are very
How is
weird.
that possible, man? They're
high-
heavy maintenance.
Okay. Well, all right. listener people, if you have a shooting question you'd like the answer to, go to benstoeger.com. Send me your email. Or email me your question. I guess you could email it to any of these
Hoppy
other idiots
Cakes.
on the show. Hoppy Cakes.
Hoppy Cakes.
He's going to be
CCUSA.
so mad that you put that out there like that, Tim. He doesn't like that. All right, anyway, email your question. We'll put it on the show. We'll have fun. Amazing. Great show, guys. Really good. Like
Cool.
primo, I thought.